Hey everybody, I'm Kathleen Byram, and I'd like to talk today about my resume. That probably sounds boring, but I'm going to do it anyway. In fact, I don't have a resume. I haven't had one for 20 years. Has it been 20 years? No, it's been a little less than that, but you get the idea. I'd like to talk about the places I've worked at. My very first job is arguable because I had some places that I worked for that weren't like normal jobs. So first I did babysitting, and I did salesmanship for the Olympic Sales Club for kids. And I ended up earning a watch and maybe something else too that I won for doing these sales. They were cards and gift wrap and things like that. They were sweet. It was good quality. And I went door to door, which really amazes me now because I would never have the guts to do that now. So that went well, and I think my parents were probably proud of that and thought that that meant I was going to actually make something of myself in life, which I did not. So next, let's see, there was babysitting in the Olympic Sales Club. Okay, the next job that I had was when I was 16. And it was a place downtown in Orleans called Hurley's. It was the bus pickup place where the Greyhound bus stopped. And they had a little place in there, a little restaurant in there. And it was like, it was a long room, and it had a big counter where you could buy ice creams and things like that. And the first thing I did wrong was I wore my birthday clothes, which was a nice striped shirt and a pair of corduroy pants that were dark green, my favorite color. And I thought corduroy pants, they were new, and I felt like I looked nice. And I went there, and she looked at me, and she said, "No jeans." And first I thought, corduroys aren't jeans. Why are you telling me no jeans? And then I had to go home and change. And I was so mortified that I cried. And I finally got back there. And then they proceeded to attempt to train me by not telling me anything but expecting me to take care of a customer. So I did my best. He asked for an ice cream, a scoop. And so I, at 16, had no idea that you pack the bottom of the little serving cup with ice cream, and then you put a scoop on top of that. I didn't know that, and I figured if I did that, she'd probably fuss at me. So I put one big scoop in there, a ball of ice cream. I was informed that that was wrong. And that's the only thing I know of that I did wrong that day, but I was never asked back. So that was my first job. I think my next job was working at 3D, which was kind of like a Walmart or something like that, or a Kmart. It was down in Paoli. And I was young and I was stupid. And there was a guy there that had, I think he thought that I was a jerk. And he got rid of me. And I was kind of jerky because I didn't know how to work. I still didn't know how to work. they would give me a job to do, and I'd see someone else's work sitting there, and I'd walk over there and do it. So bizarre that I did that. It was like I was at home. Weird. Well, the next job I got was at Galleon's, the supermarket in Orleans. And the reason I believe that I got that job was because I sent them a thank you note for a Bible that they paid for when I got married. And they probably looked at that and thought, that's a nice girl. Well, let's ask her to work for us. Well, I was terrible with the cash register. I didn't use it properly because I was making mistakes on it. Fortunately, I asked them, I said, is it always coming out under or over, or is it a mix? And they said it's a mix, and I was relieved because I didn't want them to think that I was stealing from them. And so I lost that job too because of my inability to properly use the cash register. That was a nice place, though. That was a nice store run by nice people. And I feel embarrassed about that situation. Well, my next job, I believe, was when my mother bought Southern Indiana Medical Equipment Corporation. And she had me work with her, and she gave me an apartment above the building that we rented out. And we lived in both Paoli and Orleans with businesses there. And I learned how to work there. That's when I finally learned how to be a worker. And I learned how to do bookkeeping and all kinds of things from my mother. She had gone to business college, so she knew these things, and she knew how to do a business, and she did good, but she didn't make any money because it was bad. It was bad dealing with Medicare and Medi-Cal or Medicaid and all that stuff. Blue Cross, Blue Shield, and all the insurances. They were awful. And they would tell us stuff that wasn't true, like you didn't give us this information, and there it is on our copy that we can see it. And then they'd say, oh, you didn't answer fast enough, so we canceled it, and things like that. It just made us crazy, and we would celebrate by going down to is it Eric's? Some little place where they had wonderful burgers and fries and shakes. And when we'd get a little bit of money in from the insurance company, we were able to get lunch there. And that was exciting. But mostly we just worked our butts off delivering equipment, like heavy beds and stuff. We'd put them up. We were good at it. We were real good. And people were impressed. That was a good job, and it's going on 8 minutes, and I wanted to talk more about this, so maybe I'll split it into another one. I'm Kathleen Byram, and I'm the author of Conversations with Donkey, A Bipolar Journey, and I've enjoyed telling you this, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.